Hello, everyone. Welcome back to episode 35 of the Stephen King podcast. I'm your host, Lou Sytsma, and I'm here with my other host, Lilja. How you doing, Hans?
Hi, I'm fine. Nice to be back.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And we're here to bring you the latest Stephen King news, as usual, of course. Plus, this time we're going to talk about a independent, low-budget film called You Can't Kill Stephen King.
Yep.
And we're also going to review the first episode of season 5 of Haven. But before we do that, let's start with the latest news.
Welcome, welcome. Do not fear the door that lies before you. We will protect you. We are your guides, Hans and Lou, and we will give you the latest in Stephen King news. But before we do so, you must prove yourself worthy. You must open the door and join us in the death room.
Yes, and let's start with some movie news, because there are things happening with movies at the moment. It's been a while since we got some movies based on Stephen King's books and stories, but as October comes around, we have actually 2 movies. The first one is A Good Marriage, that will be out on October 3rd on video and demand. Personally, I think that will be a great movie because I love the story. So hopefully they have done that movie justice. And
Hear, hear.
yeah, and the other movie is Big Driver, and this one is airing on Lifetime. So this is a TV movie. My first thought when I read about this one was that it's pretty strange that they are doing this one for TV, because it's pretty violent and horrific story. So I hope they haven't toned it down too much, because even if it's a lot of gruesome scenes in it, it's the story. So we shall see. But A Good Marriage will be available on October 3rd, and Big Driver will air on October 18th. So,
And that must be getting close to Halloween if we're getting all these movies. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll just add to the Lifetime channel premiere of A Big Driver. Lifetime does do some pretty dark stuff, so I'm hopeful that they will retain the dark elements of the story.
Yeah.
It is their first collaboration with Stephen King, so I hope it works out well. If it's another media avenue for Stephen King adaptations, that's never a bad thing. And Maria DeBello, she's a good actress. There's also Olympia Dukakis, Joan Jett, Ann Dowd, and Will Harris. And the screenplay was done by Richard Matheson's son, Richard Christian Matheson. So it's got a good pedigree of people behind it. So like A Good Marriage, I'm hopeful that Big Driver is going to turn out to be a superior adaptation of a King work.
Yeah. I'm always a bit nervous when they do King stuff for TV, because the US TV is often more sensitive than Swedish TV, actually. And so it's often toned down a bit, I think. And
well, this is a cable network. It's not a primetime network. So, I mean, Walking Dead's on cable, right?
Yeah,
so,
yep.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Yep.
Okay. Up next is a PBS appearance by Stephen King, scheduled for September 23rd. And it's from the show In Search of Our Fathers, which is basically, if you're into family tree history, this is what this is all about. And Hans has got a clip up of his site. And it's pretty cool that he found out that one of his ancestors moved from Tennessee to Indiana because of his distaste for slavery. So that was kind of cool. And it's a cool clip to watch as well. So September 23rd, mark that down on your calendars. That's coming up soon.
Yeah, and I think that could be an interesting show to see where his roots are from and everything. So.
And I understand he also gets to see a photograph of his father.
Ah, that should be interesting.
So,
yeah. Next up is the fact that CBS is going to do TV series based on the things they left behind. This is a short story about stuff that's coming back from the 9/11 attack, from things that been in the towers and people have been in the towers. And my guess is that this will be, they will use the story as a starting point, and then they will develop their own stories based on the ideas from this story. So I think that those who have problem with shows like Haven and other stuff will probably not like this one.
Yeah.
So I think that it can go either way, but I don't think it will have much to do with Stephen King as it progress.
No, it just looks like a launching pad for, as it's described, a supernatural procedural drama. And as soon as I hear the word procedural, that's like a 4-letter word to me.
Yeah.
Not really interested in that kind of a show. So I don't hold out much hope for that one at all. But we'll see. You never know. Things could come together in a way that we don't expect, and it could be entertaining. But because it's not being serialized, I think that'll always be a mark against it as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. And it sounds like they have only ordered a pilot so far, so maybe they will do a longer, like 90-minute pilot, I don't know, and air that one first and see if it works, and then they will develop it. Or maybe it will just stay with the first pilot, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, next up is Haven's Origins. This is actually a web exclusive, which provides backstory on the whole how Haven became the ground zero for all these troubles. So you can check out that trailer. There's a link to it on Lilja's site, and I believe that it is up now. Actually, I haven't watched it myself. Did you, Hans?
Yeah, I watched it, and it's just like 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
And it really doesn't say much, but as I understand it, there will be like 2 or 3 separate stories that will air during the season 5, and each of those will be 2 or 3 episodes at each like 2.5 minutes. So the first is up. It doesn't say much. It's a woman running from some men who seems they want to kill her. I'm taking it that she's troubled and they want to kill her and think she's like a witch or something. So it doesn't really say much, but as you said, the point is that they are going to try to tell the backstory of Haven and the troubles.
Right.
So I think that this is something that's coming more and more. I know Walking Dead has done this. Just before a new season has started, they have aired like short webisodes that are a couple of minutes each, to tell the story of maybe a backstory of some of the characters or something totally different that's just set in the same environment. And it's often pretty low budget, and well, you have to take it for what it is. It's not as nice as the story seasons itself.
Right.
Could be interesting to check out. Yeah, next up we have some book news, and as you all know, it's not that far until the next Stephen King book comes out.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it's as you know, called Revival. And today, when we record this on September 14, it's exactly 58 days until it's released. So it's soon here. And you might remember that King said that he wouldn't do any touring, any promotion, anything this year for either Mr. Mercedes or Revival. But now that has changed. I don't know why, if his publisher convinced him or if he want to go out and meet the fans again. But as it is now, he will do a 6-city tour for New York, Washington, Kansas, Wichita, Austin, and South Portland between November 11 and November 17.
Cool.
So then I guess he will do signings. I don't think he will do any talks or something like that. So I guess it's signings. I think the details will be up this upcoming week. So when you listen to this, you probably know more about those. And as far as I have understood it, this is the 6 cities he will visit. So there won't be any more dates added. So if you want to see him, you better get to one of these cities.
Right. We also have the Polish cover.
Yeah.
Which is just fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, every cover except the American one is I love them. But the American one is just so generic.
Yeah. And it's the same one that the Swedes are using, so...
Oh, okay. Is
Yeah.
it? Yeah. So that is a fantastic cover.
Yeah.
I assume that's the antagonist of the story. Maybe it's the protagonist. I don't know.
It's done by Vincent Chong, who illustrated Cemetery Dance, Doctor Sleep.
Yep.
So, yeah. If you head over to my site, you can actually see, because I have spoken to Vincent from time to time, and he knows I'm interested in seeing sketches and stuff of covers
Yep.
from how they develop. So he was kind enough to send me some sketches for. He actually did a couple. He hadn't read the book himself when he did the covers, so
Wow.
he just got some hints from the publisher from where what could be a good cover. So he did a couple first that both, I think one the publisher didn't like and the second King's editor didn't like, or something like that. He explained it, all of those turns and twists in a blog he did. Then he was kind enough to send me actually the sketches that
Yeah, they're
for the
pretty
cover.
cool.
Yeah, so I have them on the site as well. So check those out. It's interesting to see how a cover can go from an idea and how it develops and what it turns out to be and as it finished.
I just love this cover with
Yeah.
this. Assume it's a priest or a father on this. Looks like almost like a cliff with a pole of some sort stuck on the ground and lightning hitting it. It's just very atmospheric, and
Yeah.
I wish it was the American cover.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and we have one more bit of revival news.
Yes, for those of you who have seen The Green Mile, I guess most of you have, will recognize David Morse. And he will actually be narrating Revival for the audiobook. I'm not sure if he's done any other narration, but I know he's got a good voice, so that should be a good one.
Yeah. In my perfect universe, I actually think he should have played the role that Tom Hanks played in The Green Mile. I think he would have been a better choice for that role myself. Even though Tom Hanks did a good job in the movie, I just think David Morris, in my mind, fits that character better.
Yeah, I haven't thought about it, but it sounds like an
I think
interesting
he's a very underrated actor.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember him from St. Elsewhere, obviously, and also he always plays the right-hand man of the main character. If you remember The Rock, he was like the lieutenant to Ed Harris's character, and yeah, he's just a fantastic actor. I think he's got a great voice, and I wish that he would get more lead roles, but he always seems to end up as a supporting character actor. But he fits the character, in my mind, better than Tom Hanks did in The Green Mile. Not that Hanks did a bad job, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I like his character better.
Yep.
Alrighty, so I believe that's all the news, right?
Yes, that's the news.
Okay, there you go. So let's move on to our main topics.
Yes.
This is great. What's our job? We'd like drive around, pick up stiffs or what?
It's time for reviews from the night shift.
And the first thing we're going to talk about is a movie called You Can't Kill Stephen King, which at first may sound like a very strange movie, but what this really is well, it's actually a B-movie slasher. We see a bunch of kids or teenagers who are traveling to one of them have a cabin that they are going to, and one of the teenagers are a big Stephen King fan, and of course the cabin is around the place where Stephen King lives, so he wants to go and see Stephen King. Well, they actually don't arrive to Stephen King, but when they are in this cabin, and as in any slasher movie, the teenagers get slashed, and he draws a lot of references to different Stephen King stories, and as the story develops, they believes that the slasher himself is actually Stephen King. So what did you think about this one?
It's got a 3.8 rating on IMDb.
Yeah.
So, and I think they're actually being kind of kind.
Yeah.
In concept, it sounds like a fun idea to marry like the Friday night slasher movies with the Stephen King iconography.
Yeah.
But for me, the biggest failing in this movie is the character who plays the Stephen King fan, Ronnie, I believe is his name, he's the least likable character in the movie. So
Yeah.
you could kind of see it if you can understand it if they want to poke fun at Stephen King fans and kind of make fun of them but at the same time, when you're doing that, you have to make the character likable.
Yeah.
And this guy is just, well, to be blunt, is a dick.
Yeah.
And the actor who's playing him doesn't have the chops to make us like him in any respect at all. So that's where the movie really falls apart for me.
Yeah.
And you do get a chuckle out of some of the Stephen King references, some of the characters, some of the visuals. Like there's a shot at the beginning of the raft out on the water, and you're making all these associations just because you've read all these Stephen King stories.
Yeah.
But they don't really tie the Stephen King material together well with what's going on in the movie. Basically, their characters just end up quoting things that belong to Stephen King stories without having it really fit into what's happening in the movie. Yeah. And they try to make some funny shots with obviously it looks like local acting talent. So you don't have like the Hollywood looking type of actors as the supporting characters. And they're trying to make them all look kind of mainish and whatnot.
Yeah.
They have two little kids that are twins, I guess. They don't look like beyond being the fact that they're twins, I guess, but they're not identical twins. But it's a very weak reference to the twins from The Shining.
Yeah.
So most of the cast is okay, but the jokes for the most part fall pretty flat.
Yeah.
The girls are pretty enough. Definitely, that there's no issues there with watching them, but it just kind of skims the surface of what it could do, and it doesn't do anything new and better and different than any of these other kind of spoofer horror slasher movies have done. So even as a King fan, I would find it very hard to recommend watching this.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest problem I had with it is that, and I suppose this movie is aimed for the big audience and not just us Stephen King geeks.
Mm-hmm.
But I found many of the reference to Stephen King work was reference to little known works, or like I mean I can't remember any exactly just now, but there was stuff that the average reader wouldn't recognize. And I mean,
like the girl that was choked on the sand, like Beach World, stuff like that.
And I mean, Stephen King has so many hits, so it can't be hard to find quotes and connections to stuff that everyone recognize, even if you're not a diehard Stephen King fan. So I think they really failed in doing these connections to Stephen King in a good way for the masses. And some of them I even have problem with to get at first.
Yeah.
So that I think is a really big problem, because obviously they're using Stephen King's name, and they should at least do that in the movie as well. So I think it's a pretty big failure, and I think they should have done just a slasher movie, and because when they use Stephen King's name, you're gonna look for Stephen King connections, and that is what they don't do good.
That's right.
I mean, if you peel away all the Stephen King stuff, it would be like any B-movie slasher. So I think it actually would have done better as just another slasher, because you don't have that expectation as, these people know Stephen King and they know what they're doing, because you don't get a feeling that they do know what they are doing.
No. And the other thing is, like, at the beginning of the movie, they kind of put up like character cards describing the main characteristics of each character.
Yeah.
And they're the stereotypical type of character portraits that we're used to.
Yeah.
And I actually found the one for the black character offensive, and especially as the movie went on, and not just his character, but all the characters, they didn't go outside of what they established. You thought they were setting them up as a spoof. Okay, this is the character, so no, okay, you're showing me this. Now show me that you're going to do something outside of the tropes that each of these characters go through, but they don't.
Yeah.
They play them out exactly the way their cue cards come up. And I thought the one for the black guy was actually pretty offensive. And he really is the token black character in the show. He's the first one killed off, and he shows up later as It. And that's pretty disturbing.
Yeah, really.
As Pennywise the clown.
Yeah.
So, like the smart character, that's probably the only character that didn't live up to trope, because she was killed halfway through the movie. But the loose girl, she's killed. The sister, she gets killed too. And the veteran guy, his storyline wasn't that funny either. And then you find out that, the big joke is that he was only the cook.
Yeah.
And he wasn't like a real soldier. So they set all these things up, and you were expecting them to take them in new directions, and they didn't. They just played it out exactly like the movies that they were trying to spoof. Yeah. So it fails on that level too. And they're trying to, all through the movie, you're led to believe that this killer is in the end is going to turn out to be Stephen King. I mean, at even one point when he hits the guy, this pair of glasses break in half, and Stephen King wears glasses, so you're making this association that it's Stephen King. And I think that's conceptually a bad idea. I can understand why King wouldn't have been in favor of a project like this. No. So the core of the idea, I think, could have been fun, but there just wasn't enough creativity to run with it in interesting ways. They just really just ran to the script of all the other movies that they were trying to spoof, and just, like you said, tied it to a Stephen King background, which they probably would have been better not to do, especially since they couldn't really show us the things that the general public would be familiar with, like I'm surprised that they didn't have a Saint Bernard in it at some point.
Yeah.
You know, like, and some of the things were pretty weak. The boat was named Christine, but nothing ever became of it. Like it kept waiting for the boat to run over one of them or something like that.
Yeah.
But that never happens. And so it's a very just skims the surface. It's not a very well conceived project at all.
No.
And I can't even really recommend it for Stephen King fans unless you
No, I would say
diehard.
especially not Stephen King fans.
Yeah, because I think the biggest thing that if you're involved in something and you really get passionate about it, if you get to the point where you can't laugh at yourself, I think that is a sign that you're taking things too seriously. So
Yeah.
I was quite prepared for this movie. Like if you see Galaxy Quest, which makes fun of Star Trek fans, right? But it does it in a way that at the same time it pays homage and respect to him. This one doesn't. It just makes fun of Stephen King fans, and that doesn't provide like any counterpoint to that. And I think that's also another big mistake of this movie. So I think it's important that you're always able to laugh at yourself. If you're invested in something and you can't take any criticism of it or jokes about it, I think that's a sign that you got troubles. But this movie doesn't give you the chance to feel any sympathy for this character that is the King fan. He's just an annoying dick.
Yeah.
And you know, that's like all the other things are issues, but I think that's my biggest problem with the movie.
Yeah, we don't like to be portrayed like that.
Well, I think we could laugh at it if at the end at the same time they also show you the good things of fandom, like the way Galaxy Quest does with the Star Trek fandom.
Yeah.
But this movie doesn't have that intelligence about it. It's just going for the cheap stuff, and it's.
I think
it's not something I can recommend to anybody.
No, I think they depended on. They thought that they had Stephen King's name in the title, and they have some reference, even though they are poor. And I think they thought that would be enough to get people to watch the movie, so they didn't really put any more effort into it. They thought, okay, we got this, and it's enough. And it's sad.
Yeah, I think the most of the money went to buying all the brand new Stephen King books that they had down in the basement.
Yeah,
because they all looked brand new. So.
Yep.
So if you're curious about this movie, I hope we satisfied your curiosity enough that you don't have to bother watching it.
No, you can spend about 90 minutes in a much better way.
Yeah, go try to hunt down Golden Years or something.
Yep.
At least as a kernel of something positive about it.
Yep.
This just, I would have loved this to have been some sort of a love letter to Stephen King and Stephen King fandom like Galaxy Quest, but it doesn't have that intelligence and savvy about it at all.
Nope.
So that's a quick review. I don't have much more to say about it. How about you?
No, I don't have either. Just stay away from it.
But this is why you have me and Hans.
Yeah, we do the dirty work for you.
That's right, to do the dirty work for you. So, and if there's somebody out there that likes this or thinks that we're being too hard on the movie, please send us your comments. We'd like to hear alternate opinions about it.
Absolutely.
But for my money, this was a big misfire.
Yep, same here.
Okay, so that takes care of movies.
Yep.
And now we're going to turn back to TV. Last podcast, we talked about the first 4 seasons of Haven and the second season of so far of Under the Dome. And this time we're just going to talk about the premiere episode of season 5 of Haven. And it was entitled See No Evil. And me and Hans have talked a little bit about this beforehand, but I'm going to set this up by saying, and we talked about this last podcast as well, one of my big concerns was with the season 4 finale is they seem to throw everything but the kitchen sink into that finale, and it looked like they really had painted themselves in a corner as to how they were going to get out of that and go forward into this season. So I've got my thoughts on how that worked out, but I'm interested to hear what Hans thinks about how well they got out of that corner, or how well they got out of that lighthouse.
Yeah, well, actually I am pretty satisfied with how they managed to do that. And let's say that we are going to spoil the episode now, so if you haven't seen it, you might want to go and do that first, but we're not keeping anything from you. The lighthouse implodes and disappears, and all those who were in that cave underneath appears on different places, like they've been swallowed and spit out on some place. And they go look for each other, and that aspect I can buy, actually. I think that worked out pretty good, I think. We don't know where, what's her name? Duke's girlfriend. Jennifer, exactly. We don't know where she is. She's actually a key player that we're probably going to see more of. Audrey is, from now on, Mara, it seems. And she is determined to go and find a way to get back into the hole that has now been disappeared since the lighthouse imploded. She actually seems to know that there are a few thinnies in town. And those of you who have read Dark Tower book knows what a thin is, and now there's going to be some Dark Tower spoilers as well in here, I realized. But so if you don't want to know that, you probably should also turn off. But anyway, Thinnis is portal between worlds, and she finds them, but she can't go through them. Here is where she needs Jennifer. Exactly how, we don't really know. Somehow she's going to be able to help her. And I must say that I'm pretty satisfied with that turnout. How about you?
Well, maybe you can clear up something for me from the last season. There's a couple of items that I'm confused about. This portal that they opened up in the lighthouse.
Yep.
This seemed to be like a special doorway into another dimension or a void, right?
Yep.
Like it was going into a nowhere place,
yeah.
right? But these thinnies, which they for some reason never found out about until this season, thinnies are doorways between worlds, right?
Yeah.
For the most part, they can go into voids, but generally they take you from one world to another world, right?
Yep.
So why would any of these thinnies go into the same void that was in the lighthouse? I don't understand the connection between the two. And if these thinnies existed, why wouldn't William last season have used them to take Audrey somewhere else? So my issue, like you said, you bought the whole thing that when the lighthouse imploded, that everybody else was scattered throughout the land. I didn't buy that at all. Like, why were they? Okay, from a practical point of view, yes, we need these characters around for the season. So obviously they have to be somehow transported.
Yeah.
But why did the lighthouse have to blow up in the first place? Why weren't they all killed from the explosion? From a practical, logical point of view, that just doesn't work for me. So I really was left with and I'm reserving judgment because I feel like this was a part one of a part two story, because we just still don't know what happened to Jennifer and what influence she might have had on these events. And that might retroactively fix some of the issues I'm having with this story. So from a logical point of view, I'm not really buying this. I really do feel like they whitewashed everything that happened in the season finale from season 4 just and hit a reset button so that they could get the story going again. And I feel it's pretty clunky the way they did this by shooting everybody out across the land. It was interesting, though, that we did find out that this is, like, I think the third time that the lighthouse has been destroyed. So I'm sure that that's going to come back into this probably down near the end of this season. The other thing I didn't understand is at the end of the episode from season 4, Mara tells Duke that he's as good as dead because he's got all these troubles in him and they're eating him up. Yet when this season starts, somehow that's changed, and now he's projecting these things instead of them eating him up and killing him. So I don't understand how that worked either. Again, this might be something that Jennifer did to save him. I don't know. But if that is true, that Duke is now projecting troubles, then what are they going to do with Duke for the rest of the season? Are they just going to let him run around town projecting troubles? That doesn't make any sense to me at all. No. It's like they should lock him up somewhere or kill him. So yeah, I thought the start was really clunky, and we'll have to see if it's fixed a little bit better as we go forward during the episode. For me, the best parts of the episode were actually and we mentioned this on our last podcast with Bev for Canadian viewers, was the Jane Alexander character, who's the coroner. Her scenes were the best ones in the show, especially the one where she was asleep in the morgue and Nathan thought she was dead. I thought that was pretty funny. She's sitting on the chair with her mouth open. But then the girl that she had with her at the beginning with the baby, drawing that picture with all these petals coming in, like I guess this is going to be a payoff down the road again. Yeah. But I just found that a very strange power to show us at that point of the episode. I thought it was a really clunky start, and as Mara's going through town, finding all these thinnies, and we so conveniently, Dave, of course, is still knocked out, so we don't get any answers from him. Vince knows where the journal is, and they quickly find out about these thinnies. And I mean, it's cool that they tie thinnies into the Dark Tower mythology, but it just seems like they're just pulling out mythology to fill story points instead of, like, this doesn't feel organic to me. This feels like, we need a story device to push the characters through this episode, as opposed to normally they use troubles to do that. Now they're using these thinnies. So I just and there was it felt like all the characters were doing a lot of tap dancing, explaining things that when you sit there and think about it, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But if you keep spinning the plates fast enough and keep the audience's eyes on the plates instead of what's really happening, that they don't stop and think about that none of this is really hanging together. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too critical of this episode, but I found it really awkward and clunky. The first 15 minutes were just, I thought, were terrible.
I take it this wasn't your favorite episode.
Oh, far from it. I mean, my mind might change later on, but it didn't really get better as it went along. You've got all these, you got Nathan's holding secrets from, who's the sheriff again? Sorry. The Edge.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Dwayne, exactly. Yep.
Dwayne. So he's holding secrets from him. Why?
Yeah.
No reason. Just to make him look like an idiot and have Mara able to put a dig into him. And I'm sorry, even though the guy's got a bulletproof vest on and these bullets, when you get hit in the chest with bullets, especially 3 of them with a bulletproof vest, you just don't, it's not like somebody pushed you down.
No.
Like you're knocked out. And then on top of that, she's using the
teaser.
Taser, right? And he jiggles for a couple of seconds, and then 2 seconds later, he's wide awake again. I said, "Excuse me." that was I don't know.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I just didn't. And then he tells Nathan and Duke that she got the better of me, and Nathan's sitting on the beach with his vehicle, like in the middle of nowhere, wide open. Like, you don't think she's gonna sneak up on you? Like, park the thing off somewhere, into the trees and hide behind a dune or something. He's just sitting out on the beach. Like, he's not even trying to hide. And maybe that was the point, but it didn't come across in that episode. But it was just so right. He was just sitting there in his big blue 4-wheeler vehicle, wide open. Like, it was, I just thought it was a really sloppy episode. I don't know. Am I being too hard, or?
No, I think you make few great points. I think, though, that the fact that Nathan is having secrets from Dwight, that's
right, Dwight, sorry.
Yeah, that's a common theme throughout. Yeah. Everybody is keeping secrets from everybody, so that really doesn't surprise me. I mean, we have Dave and Vince, who has had secrets from everybody throughout the season. So. Yeah. And I think the fact that the lighthouse had to implode was because I think they had to get rid of the hole, so Mara couldn't go that way to find William, exactly. So I think
But who made it implode?
Yeah.
They just closed it, right? What caused it to blow up?
Yeah, that's a good point. What caused it? But I think they need to get rid of it, and that's why it imploded.
Oh, I can understand that, but then you have to provide an explanation as to how they got rid of it.
Yeah.
They just don't. They don't. They just blow it up without any reason. Like they opened and closed the door. Did William cause it to implode? I doubt it.
Yeah.
If anything, he'd want to try to open it. So why it imploded? Yeah, from a story point of view, they don't want her to be able to get back through that way. That makes sense, but they don't provide any explanation as to why it did implode.
No, that's true.
If they could even have said, if we open the store and close it, it's a one-use door and it's be destroyed or something. But they don't even lay those seeds for that, right?
But it could be something coming, since they mentioned that it's a third time, and that might spin on for a later time that we get it explained how it.
Yeah. So
I admit that there are some flaws in the episode, but I think in the whole that they were down there and William had gone down and everything, the way they fixed the fact that they had that hole and everything, I think that part that worked for me. But then, as you said, there are a lot of stuff that's not working so well in the episode as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of tap dancing here around things. So I'm going to just have to accept that this is how things have been reset, and hopefully going forward, I'll enjoy what they're going to do. Because I do think that for Emily Rose to play this Mara character, I think she can have a lot of fun. She's going to be kind of like the Joker. This is like the Joker version of her character. Yeah. So I think she can have a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to see what she's doing. And I'm trying not to be too hard on this episode, but I do have to mention that speech that Nathan gave to Mara on the beach about, oh, Audrey loves me and our love will conquer everything and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. That was terrible. Like, we know that already. You don't have to tell us that. Yeah. And Mara certainly doesn't need to hear it. So that to just say something like that was, I couldn't believe that they said that. So I really didn't like this one at all. I thought it was probably the weakest premiere they've done. And I'm just hoping that now that they've whitewashed everything that happened in the season 4 finale, that at least they're going to use what they've set up from this episode for some fun stuff going forward in the season.
My hope is that Mara will be really evil and not something.
Yep.
I want her to be really sadistic and really having fun tormenting people, and not just
Yep.
being naughty, if you know what I mean. I want her really, really bad, and I think Emily Rose could pull that off. Actually, I think she could be really evil.
Yeah. But again, the problem is for the season arc, they've already telegraphed that Audrey in some form is still inside Mara, right?
Yeah.
Because Mara could not shoot Nathan. And so we already know this. So that tension of, well, is Audrey really there or not? It's already been answered.
Yeah.
So that can't even carry over in the season. So as bad as she gets, whatever she does, we're all just going to be sitting there saying, yeah, but, and I mean, we know it already.
Yeah.
Because it's a story, but they've already answered that question. So that tension's already gone. So I'm going to enjoy, I think, seeing this Mara character go crazy on the town. But yeah, like between her and what they've done with Duke, like he should be locked up for the rest of the season if he's the cause of troubles this season.
Yeah.
I hope that gets resolved very quickly. And I'm hoping in the second episode they answer some of the questions that are still outstanding. And I think it's kind of tied into Jennifer.
Yeah.
Because if she's not the one that sealed the thinnies, then it has to be somebody else. And if she knew about the thinnies to seal them, why didn't she tell anybody else about them already? So there's a lot more questions than answers in this episode, and I'm really accepting the show's track record that it's going to be fun going forward. But I thought this was a pretty bad episode.
Maybe the thinnies was created when the lighthouse imploded, so they weren't.
No,
there.
because it was in that map. It was in that book.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
That book was like hundreds of years old, so they've been there for a long time.
But maybe they didn't appear until they were always there, but they couldn't get to them until the lighthouse imploded.
That's possible, but then they should have explained that in the story in the episode, and they didn't. I mean, that's a good theory, but it wasn't explained in the episode, and that's the problem. A lot of things were not explained in this episode.
Yeah,
and you could just feel it that they didn't have explanations because the characters were all telling us things that sounded good but didn't really make any sense, and there was just a lot of emotion without any purpose. I found. So I mean, I don't think I was too happy with the premiere episode last season either, if I remember correctly, but I think this one was worse. I didn't buy anything in this episode, so I'm really hoping that they're making it worth my while to watch the next one.
But to be fair, in the last premiere for season 4 as well, there wasn't much logic with the barn and Audrey's character being the bartender and stuff. It had some flaws, that one as well. So
yeah, but it fit within what they had established with the barn and that. I could buy that, but this portal stuff that is out of left field as far as I'm concerned, because we haven't seen this until the season 4 finale.
No.
And they might explain it because they said the lighthouse has been destroyed 2 other times, and hopefully we'll get to see that.
Yeah.
But right now, they're asking me to accept a lot of things that they've never talked about before.
No.
And I'm hoping they do explain them, but it right now it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get it explained. And what's I think will be probably interesting is if they manage to go through one of these thinnies. Where will they end up? In a different haven, or in a totally different planet, or where will they go? That could be interesting if done right.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
Yeah.
If they can figure out how to unseal any of them.
Yep.
Yep.
They might find Roland.
We can only hope.
Or not.
Yeah. So, boy, between this and You Can't Kill Stephen King, I haven't had a good King month. I'm really looking forward to these 2 movies in the book because I need a pick-me-up. Or maybe the next episode of Haven will turn it around for me, but right now, yeah.
No, we have to wait until next week and see.
So I've played the role of Grumpy this podcast, listeners. You might want to chime in and tell me that I'm wrong on both cases or one.
Yeah, and definitely if any of you listeners have any theories about the stuff that happened in Haven, please let us know.
Mm-hmm. So that's everything I've got about this episode.
Yep.
How about you, Hans? You want to defend it anymore? Or?
No. I'm done.
Okay,
Yep.
Cool.
Questions?
Do you leave the light on after bedtime? 'Cause I get a little scared in the dark sometimes. If it's a strange place.
All right. So what do we got in schedule for next podcast?
Yeah, next podcast we're going to mix a lot. We're going to talk about a short story called That Bus Is Another World. It's a short story that King actually wrote and got the idea to when he was in Paris. When I went to see him in Hamburg, and he actually told us about this idea then. Now he has put it down on paper, and we're going to review that one. And we are going to take a look at the new Dark Tower comic that is based on the second book, The Drawing of the Third. The first issue is out, and we're going to talk about that. And then maybe the highlight of that episode, we are going to talk about the last episodes of Under the Dome for season 2. And that will be episode 8 and until the finale. Right. So make sure you see those before, and we're going to judge them. And I don't know if it's going to be you and me who is Mr. Grumpy that time. I think it's going to be one of us or both, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. So we shall see. But hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. It's a blast doing these with you, Hans. Thank you.
Same here.
And I want to say to everyone out there, stay safe.
But stay scared.